You are now listening to the Jay Porks Experience. Listen free on iTunes or at theandydareshow.com. Now, here's Jay.
Yo, what is the word, people? Welcome to another action-packed edition of the Jay Porks Experience. I'm Jay Porks. With me, as always, on the other side of the glass, making sure this is a well-oiled podcast machine, keeping the wheels turning every week. The ever-popular, growing in popularity week by week. The ever-popular nobody. Folks, got a few things to get to, but first I can guarantee you that these three things I know are true. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie is an even fatter piece of shit than he was a few weeks ago. We have facts on that. Also, Noel Gallagher continues to be an amazing, amazing quote. And while some fans spend more than half the time at concerts on their phones, most writers spend half of their careers writing about what fans at concerts are doing instead of the band on stage. And we're going to start with that. What goes on? Happy Mother's Day. I know you didn't notice me wish anyone a happy Mother's Day, and I was correct in doing that. Anyway, there's a website called altpress.com, and I gotta tell you, it's run by a bunch of whiny crybabies. I actually don't know the people, but they're putting out this article today. It's May 11th? Yeah, May 11th today, Monday, yesterday when you're listening to this. And the headline is that some fans now spend more than half the time at concerts on their phones. Wow. Interesting. Let's read on. A recent study conducted by Ticketfly surveyed concert-going adults to find out just how much they're using their phones at live events. And the results are depressing. One of the survey's biggest findings, 31% of adults ages 18 to 34 admit to using their phones during half or more of the show. Imagine how much higher this number is for teenagers. 40% of females 18 to 34 use their smartphones to take pictures of live events, compared to only 24% of males at the same age. Oh, I love that feminism is working. I'm glad that we have gender roles defined here. Even more interesting, those same females are more likely to share the pictures on social media than their male counterparts, 35% to 22% respectively. I'm always looking for people who want to share their pictures on social media. So if you want to do that, guy, girl, transgendered, come get at me. I'll help you out. More interesting findings. 70% of smartphone owners 18 to 34 are using phones as their event ticket. 66% of smartphone owners are using their phones to buy food, beverages, merch at the concerts. But here's the kicker. In the Northeast, 5% of respondents reported that they are on their mobile phone devices the entire time they're at a live event. The entire time. Like, that's a lot of... You're paying a lot of attention to... First of all, that's a large survey. You're judging something based on a survey that you took. You asked people, and they gave you the answer. You didn't witness this. So, the headline is... The headline of this article is factually incorrect. It needs to be study shows some fans. Survey shows. Because there's no pictures of people at a concert with their phones up. They didn't do any investigative reporting. I know this article has come out before, this type of article, the annoying concert behaviors. That's something that Rolling Stone has to do. They're Rolling Stone. They are the New York Times of music literature. So they, with technology changing, they have to write that article. They have to. Every other website that piggybacks off that, you guys are out of ideas. Out of ideas. You know, it seems very popular these days. It is extremely popular to go on social media and complain about social media. Did you notice that about people? All people want to do is cry and complain about what other people are doing. All they want to do is point, and it even comes with like the dollar amounts that people make. People get mad at the jobs they have, not because they're not getting paid sufficient amount of funds to do this job, but because they heard that somebody else over there is doing the same job and getting more money, or doing less work for the same money, and they want to be even because it's all about what everyone else is doing. Nobody. I really want to find somebody who is just focused on what they're doing. I want to find an individual who is focused on what they are striving to be. Like when I go to a show, if I ever go to a show again, I do when I started this podcast, I used to go to concerts. I swear I did. It's just that I'm really poor and life has been smacking me in the fucking shitter recently. But in all seriousness, when I go to shows and I pull out my phone and I pull out my camera and I take some video and I take a picture, I'm not looking around. I'm looking forward. I paid money to see what's going on the stage, not what's going on in the crowd. If everyone would just focus on themselves, listen, if somebody gets in front of you and lifts up their iPhone and blocks your view for an entire concert, then I could understand your beef. This article is not about that. This article is a study shows. If the person next to me is sending a text message, what does that got to do with me? How sensitive am I if I'm going to let that bother me? Dude, people got real problems. There are people in life who have real problems, and you're complaining that somebody is on their phone at a concert. Who cares? I saw something else that said a lot of people are hanging out by the bars, not even paying attention to the show. Well, what venue are you at? Some of these places are bars. Some of these venues, I don't know what's going on around the country, but in New York City, you can go to Mercury Lounge and go to the bar, and the band is playing in the back, and you could sit at the bar. I'm pretty sure you can do that. So if people are, listen, if somebody's not interested in the show, let them go hang out at the bar. And pretty soon, all these we're going to just be going to shows and watching it on our phone right there. Should be technology. Why is everybody so concerned about what's going on around them? I just don't get it. If people just would stick to what they're doing. I don't like everybody wants to be the behavior police. Oh, you can't do that. You can't do that because of this. You can't do that because that bothers me. And I'm not, listen, I did say I went to Summerland 2014 last year, and I did make fun of the one guy that was in front of me on OkCupid on his phone. Yeah, that was funny, and I poked fun at it. But I didn't say that that guy is the downfall of music in America, and we're not, and if we're coming to a point, I mean, if your ticket is on your phone, then we're at the point where your phone is just going to be out. Everyone enjoys music differently. I'm not going to tell you how you should enjoy music. For instance, I haven't carried around a pair of headphones in about 2 years. And the reason why, I don't want the music in my ear. I know it's weird. I will blast deafening music loud from speakers, but I don't want it inside my ear. I want to sing, I want to, say things, and I don't want to have my volume. I want to hear myself talk. I talk to myself. Listen, I don't talk to myself for an hour a day on a podcast. I talk to myself 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Do you know what I was doing all day Monday? I was walking into the bathroom and saying this shtick into the mirror, trying out different things, seeing which works. I just kept explaining to myself in the mirror about how sensitive it would be of me to get mad at the person next to me who's sending a text. Who cares? Maybe that person's setting up their ride home. Maybe that person's tweeting about me. Maybe that person's tweeting the set list. Maybe that person works for a website that writes about what happens on the stage at concerts and not in the crowd at concerts, like altpress.com just did. Like altpress.com just did after every other website did it for the past 2 years. This is not. It's not like they came up with this. And all this is post Mother's Day, I need the clicks on my website blues. That's all this is. Slow News Week, put out a survey. Put out some numbers for them. That's exactly what it is. Listen, I wish that I ran one of these clickbait websites that was making money per click with the Heineken ads, the Heineken pop-up ads in your face playing music but while you're reading the article. I wish I did. I'm jealous of these people. I'm envious. I wish I was in that position. But since I'm not, I'm going to make sure that I make it clear to express what I think you're doing wrong with your product, with your business. Alt Press writing this is bad business. It's by Matt Crane. Matt Crane, that is some bad business. I don't know who you are. I'm not saying you're a bad guy. I'm sure you're a nice guy. But what you did here with this is, come on. You know what you did. You know exactly what you did, and it's not cool. Write a montage of Heck Review or something, you know? I mean, there's other things happening this week. Listen to David Duchovny's new album or some bullshit. Get into that later. This idea that people are focused, people are so like the crowd is playing songs. Pretty soon, maybe the band will show up and watch the crowd and report on them. It's not like, yeah, hey Justin, I really want to write for ContentConfessions.com, not because I want to write about what's on stage, but what I really want to do is see how many people are on their phones in the crowd. Do you mind if I do that? Do you think he would give me the go-ahead if I did that? Go to the show, enjoy the music how you like, as long as it doesn't infringe upon other people. Like if you're screaming, if you're having a conversation on the phone during a slow acoustic song that is very quiet, yes, that's annoying. That's disruptive. But if somebody's phone is in their hand and they're down and they're looking at it, who fucking cares? Get a life. Not only get a life, get a real job. Like, because your job is not even reporting on music now. Now your job is reporting on fans. What is that? If hard work builds character, what do you call that? Shit. Okay. So all that time looking in the mirror paid off. Meanwhile in New Jersey, remember a couple of weeks ago when Governor Chris Christie said that if he was going to run for president, he would crack down on the legalization of recreational marijuana in the states that did it, because the taxes coming from that are quote unquote blood money. So to take a plant that's illegal off the black market and let the government tax people on it was quote unquote blood money. But the New Jersey governor spent nearly a third of taxpayer money, $82,000, on food at NFL games, according to state records. This is written by Tom Davis, Patch.com. Governor Chris Christie has spent more than $360,000 from his state allowance during his 5 years in office, more than 80% of which, or $300,000, was used to buy food, alcohol, and desserts, according to a New Jersey watchdog analysis of records released by the governor's office. Let's talk about that statement for a second. His state allowance has been he spent $360,000. 300,000 of that was on food. Food! So when I say Chris Christie's a fat piece of garbage, it's not fat shaming. It's not me saying, look at this guy, he can't lose weight, ha ha ha. This guy took $300,000 of taxpayer money and spent it on food. That's facts. These are things that are true. Like if this was if this was the pyramid and you were guessing things, and one of your clues was $300,000, Chris Christie spent $300,000 on food. The category would be things that are true because it happened. So before you start, I mean, you don't even get high and you spend $300,000 on food? You can take the there are there are people there are poverty-stricken families out there reading this article. There are people in Patterson, New Jersey with 15 family members living in a house. One guy, a couple of guys selling drugs, and they're reading that the governor of the state they live in spent $300,000 on food, when that $300,000 can save the lives of many people. Many people can get so many people out of debt. And I know there are more problems than that, but I mean, there are a lot of things that you can do with $300,000. And when you're a fat piece of garbage, you do things that make you a fat piece of garbage, and that's what that is. And I can't believe that there are going to be presidential candidates that aren't in favor of marijuana. Like, that shows you that politics is not on the pulse of the American public. I mean, it's crazy that I'm going to continue to live in this world and a plant that grows naturally is going to be illegal. Chris Christie also sarcastically suggested the legalization of heroin in that article when he said that weed is the taxes from recreational marijuana is quote unquote blood money. He also said, "Why don't we just legalize heroin?" I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but why don't we? If we legalized heroin, then the people who are addicted to heroin might be able to get some help without being looked at as criminal, without having to hide places because they're criminals, because they're low lives. They wouldn't have to keep it to themselves. Maybe they can go out and get help. See, the thing about the addiction is discussing it. You don't just hide your fucking addicted people in jail. That's not how society progresses. That's not how we move forward as a nation. And trust me, for the past 100 years, we've been moving backwards. You can look at us. Look at every other country. Why don't we just legalize heroin? Why don't we? How about this? How about the black market no longer exists? Why don't we take everything off the black market? Why don't we give the people with fake Coach bags on Canal Street, why don't we give them real ones? What is the big deal? If you legalize drugs, you take out the most dangerous component in drugs, and that is the drug dealers, cartels. I'm not even a smart guy. I mean, I'm not even a smart guy, and I know this, but you know what? It's okay. It's all right. Because I'll just sling food. I'll just sling food and listen to people tell me that maybe I should become a garbage man, or maybe I should work for the postal service, maybe I should become a fireman, maybe I should do some other job that is gonna, net me money as long as I don't do the one thing I need to do to survive in this life. And you hear me say need, and you say, "Whoa, Jay, you might have a problem, you might have an addiction." But then I can watch you talk about how you need a cup of coffee in the morning. Coffee is caffeine. Caffeine is a drug. Pick which one you want to do. If you go through life drinking water, then come at me. Other than that, shut your mouth and get the fuck out of here. And I am so glad that Chris Christie spent $300,000 on food, desserts, and alcohol so that the people can see that this guy cannot even get anywhere close. Please don't let this guy close to the Oval Office. Christie used a debit card on 58 occasions to pay a total of $82,000 for concessions at MetLife Stadium. 58 occasions? He spent 82 grand on food. Like, listen, if I blew 82 grand and I bought a bunch of weed and shit, that's called, shit. Are you kidding? That's the equivalent of what he did. Like, if you gave me $82,000 and I didn't pay off my debts and I didn't use it to pay bills and I spent it on drugs, yeah, that would be fucked up. Well, Chris Christie's version of drugs, if you've seen him, because, as Chris Christie stated, America has a problem with addiction. So I'm looking at this round mound of no bounds, and I'm looking at an $82,000 debit card bill for food, and I'm thinking maybe America does have an addiction problem. Fair or foul? Am I saying anything that is incorrect? I don't think I am. We'll get to the headlines back after this.
Hey everybody, this is Andy from the Andy Dare Show, just thanking you for checking out the Jay Porks Experience. If you want to learn more about Jay, follow him on Twitter at JPorks. Follow him on Instagram at JPorks. JPorks.com for the podcast, articles, pictures, you name it. There's a running theme here. It's JPorks. So for 2015, if you want to support the Dare Podcast Network, all you got to do is go to theandydareshow.com and click on the Amazon banner, and you will be tipping your cap to the Jay Porks Experience and all the fine broadcasting here at Dare Network. Thanks for listening, and back to the Jay Porks Experience.
And we're back. I just want to make sure that before I go into part 2 of the podcast, that everybody puts their phone down and is not on their cell phone while the podcast is happening, because it might bother other people listening to the podcast. So make sure that you put your phone away, because I'm not having it. I will throw all of you out of my studio right now. I will send everybody home. So you better put your phone down. Of course I'm joking. But speaking of podcasts, real quick before I get into some other stuff, the Chris Kirkwood podcast is amazing. I know I tout podcasts and I tout the Meat Puppets, and I know that combining the two is only going to lead to my newsfeed being all that, but episode 1 with Bob Forrest, there were some awesome stories, man. I laughed out loud several times. I found out several things I didn't know, and I've hung out with and I know these guys, and I've heard Chris tell stories. See, that's the thing. Here's what you need if you want a podcast. You need 2 things. Well, you need a lot of things, but 2 key components are equipment and stories. If you're in a band, especially a legendary one like the Meat Puppets, especially for the last 30 years of your life, you got the equipment, or you have access to the equipment, and if you've been in a band as legendary as the Meat Puppets and as long as 30 years as the Meat Puppets, you got stories. So he's got that. And he's got guests, and he's got friends, and they're all going to be coming through. So go like the Chris Kirkwood podcast on Facebook, and follow Kirkwood Pod on Twitter, and check that out. And the headlines every week are powered by Antiquiet. Speaking of heroin, maybe if this country had legal heroin, maybe the last great rock star wouldn't have had to blow his fucking brains out. Montage of Heck came out last week, May 4th. I didn't watch it on the night it premiered. I watched it a couple of days later. Powerful, powerful stuff. One of the greatest. We're not gonna call it a rock documentary. I don't want to call it a biopic. I don't know what it is. It's great, and it sets a new level for documentary, for storytelling about bands and stuff like that, and artists and troubled artists. But if you go to antiquiet.com, there is a review unpacking Kurt Cobain's Harmony and Heck, and it's written by Squirrel, who runs Antiquiet. And I just want to say, this is a perfect example of some of the underrated journalism that is going on over at andyquiet.com. I'm sorry. I know I work there, but this isn't something I wrote, so I'm not. This isn't shameless self-promotion. I get nothing for this. Quite frankly, I don't even think that anybody who writes for Andy Quiet knows I have a podcast, let alone that the headlines are powered by Andy Quiet. Don't tell them. I don't want them to get mad. I don't want to smear their name with the Jay Porks experience, but I mean, there's a whole. It's a long. It's very good. It's very good, and I'm looking for the. I'm looking for a sentence here that. Let me skim through it real fast. Have I told? I told this, and like, here's the thing about Montage of Heck. I have the Kurt Cobain journals. I don't know if anyone, if you have that book slash his actual journals. A lot of that stuff, like the retarded, the quote unquote, the girl who they call the retard girl, who's not actually retarded, or Kurt doesn't think she's retarded. Like when he goes to bang her, like hearing him tell that story and seeing the animation. Forget that the animation was so good, just the animation linking up with Kurt's voice, and it was just outstanding. Just some real storytelling happening. And you know, hey, listen, I'm glad that it got made. It's heartbreaking, but there's like it says, there's one moment that's extremely uncomfortable. I mean, there's plenty of clips of Kurt and Courtney fucking around at home where Courtney's got her tits out everywhere and you're basically watching a trailer for two zit-covered junkies sex tape. But there's nothing compared to the quiet, graphic vulgarity of the footage where Frances is getting her first haircut and Kurt is strung out, barely upright. He's holding her, but almost dropping her. She's crying. Courtney, even with her reputation and all of the horror stories, Courtney, you realize she was more of the responsible drug addict. At least half the time, she's expressing her discontent with his state, but but in the subdued sort of way that you do when you know that it's not the first time or the last time, and it's heartbreaking. And sorry, I'm really sick. But it's a crucial piece of the picture. And if we were to know who Kurt Cobain really was, and it was that, and that is the movie's lasting achievement, to share that undressed, intimate knowledge with everyone. I feel a little weird even referring to it as a rock documentary. It's not really about music. It's less dramatized than a biopic, more personal than an exhibit. There's not really a box that Montage of Heck fits into perfectly, but it's an accomplishment that is Kurt Cobain can now be more than a face on a poster with the lyrics to All Apologies superimposed, for sale for $10 in the back of a jeans store. He could be something real and accessible, not something idealized. Not some idealized, untouchable icon. He becomes more special and more flawed, simultaneously possessing qualities we can aspire to have and faults we can endeavor to avoid. I don't think that it takes him down from his pedestal. I think it brings us all up to it. Boom. And there's a lot more in there. I mean, I'm gonna share it on the notes. It's just, I just took a look at it before I opened it. I was honestly from the, because Andy Quiet is sort of like, I don't know. I don't want to say snarky, but I would expect to get the snark from Andy Quiet. So I thought I was gonna open this up, and I'm like, oh no, one of the guys who I work for is gonna hate my favorite band, and that's gonna really bother me. But actually, no, this is actually very good. And it's very well written, and just I wish that I was a good writer. It'd be great if I could write things like that. It'd be awesome. So unpacking Kurt Cobain's Harmony and Heck is the Montage of Heck film review. Also on Andy Quiet, we got Alabama Shakes explore space, blow up their sound. I'm not going to give you the score because then you got no reason to go there and click it. And last week after we got off the air, like I'm live, Noel Gallagher had more quotes. And it was amazing. It's always amazing, but it was like more of that. He was talking about Tidal and the guy who left One Direction. And the guy, I mean, because he's in England, so I guess One Direction. People care about One Direction there. I guess people care about them here too, but I don't know any people who are 15 years old. Besides the kid who busses for me at Primo Pizza, and he likes Skrillex. So Noel Gallagher offered a typically entertaining commentary about some of the year's biggest music stories. For instance, the former Oasis guitarist thinks it's silly that Zayn Malik of One Direction wants to live a normal 22-year-old lifestyle. I really got a scratchy throat here, guys, so don't mind me if I'm like going in and out. So Noel's like, I never met him. I've only met Harry, who orbits in social circles where sometimes we end up at the same parties. First of all, if you show up at a party and Noel Gallagher's there, you're at the right party. Just saying. Harry's not got a great deal to say for himself, but he's a good lad. For Zayn, I thought, fucking get a good accountant because life is very fucking long. He wants to be a normal 22-year-old. And this is what Noel says. Noel continues on. It's a strange thing for that lad to have done that at that age. The greatest quote was, I laughed out loud when I read it, quote, I just want to be a normal 22-year-old. Who wants to be a normal 22-year-old? Hang on a minute. You can be a fucking you could be fucking anything that moves and getting paid $500,000 a week. You fucking idiot. You want to be a normal 22-year-old? Have you met any normal 22-year-olds? They're fucking shit for brains. What are you talking about, you fucking idiot? God. All those young Japanese girls sucking me cock. So shallow and meaningless. I love it. I'll say this to you, Zane. You might have wanted to be a normal 22-year-old, but you won't want to be a normal 25-year-old. Facts. Noel Gallagher. Also on Tidal, he said, I thought that people on the stage might want to be a little bit aware that they don't look like Jay-Z's minions. Madonna was pretty cool the way she cocked her leg up on the desk and signed it. I think ultimately with the spiel they came out with, it was like, do these people think they're the fucking Avengers? They're gonna save the fucking world. I was speaking to Chris Martin the other day, the day after, and I said, "Are you after a Nobel Peace Prize? Is that what you're after?" They were like, "We're gonna save the fucking music business." And I'm just sitting there thinking, you might want to write a decent chorus or a fucking start. Never mind fucking royalties and the power of music. Write a fucking tune. Fucking start with that. Yes. They're going to save the music business. And I got to tell you, since I read this quote, that's all I've been saying to people all week about anything is, do they think they're the fucking Avengers? Like, all press writing this article, some fans now spend more than half their concerts on their phones. Do they think they're the fucking Avengers? They think they're going to save the world? Is it Age of Ultron? I don't get it. Is it Age of Ultron? Are you guys going to... We're going to save the music, but like Chris Martin from Coldplay looked at Noel Gallagher and actually told him that we're going to save the music business, and he took himself seriously where he thought he was going to do that. Real, that is some of the funniest shit I've ever heard in my life. So my answer to everything is like when when a customer comes to my restaurant and they give me suggestions on how we should do things differently, I'm just gonna be like, do you think you're the fucking Avengers? Are you trying to save the fucking world? So like later this week, if I get on with it, if I go on Andy's show, I'm gonna go on Andy's show later this week. I'm gonna try to drop it in conversation. Hope he doesn't notice. I'm just like, yo, do you think you're the fucking Avengers? I love it. I love Noel Gallagher. And furthermore, why doesn't like you know how 50 Cent has thisis50.com and it's like a news site, and then 50 could pop on at any time and give you a little message. Why doesn't Noel Gallagher have something like that? Noel Gallagher is on the phone with journalists every day saying funny shit. Like, see, I'm not a smart guy. I'm not in the music business. I can't tell you if Tidal's gonna work. I can't tell you if it's not gonna work. But I could tell you that, do these people think that they're the fucking Avengers? That's what I want to know. Well, no Gallagher winning the internet continuously, as he always does, because he's no fucking Gallagher. What else is happening? So David Duchovny, that homeboy from the X Files, is he put out an album. I heard a little bit of it. Not, I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's bad. But there's an interview with David Duchovny in Rolling Stone, and he disses Bob Dylan for doing ads in one of his songs. David Duchovny dissed Bob Dylan. If I were him, I wouldn't give a shit what I think. It came from watching the Super Bowl with my children and the jingoism and the bullshit America Uber allies stuff was making me ill. To me, Dylan was a way in. I'm happy he can make money. I think he can do whatever the fuck he pleases, and he's aces with me forever. The guy says, your voice sounds a bit like the guy from The National. He's like, if my voice sounds like anybody, I'll take it as a compliment. With singing, I just want to have some sense of, when I open my mouth, what the fuck is going to happen. It's not natural to me. What was the first day in the studio like? Horrible. At one point, I was just lying on the ground underneath the mic, yelling that this was all a mistake. Cool. What's behind your line about mediocrities for hourly fees? We've all paid for a little therapy, haven't we? I had a professor who said they called them shrinks because they make things small. They shrink everything. That's probably the most specifically angry I get in any of these songs. And the interviewer points out, a man of words is a man of lies is a nice lyric. That's the English literature guy in me. Words are just an approximation. That's one of the great things about music. It kind of fills up the distance between the words and what you're feeling. As I choke up half my lung here. And what songs did David Duchovny start playing on guitar, you might ask? Well, the Beatles, Lou Reed, the band, Petty, classic white guy rock. I love 70s funk, but I'm not good enough to play it yet. So hopefully, within the next year or so, I'll get my jazzy chords and come out with a little Sly and the Family Stone tribute album. How awesome is David Duchovny? How much of the and they wanted to know how much of the X-Files mythology does he have straight in his head? And he said very little. I think Jillian and I should probably do a remedial course by Chris Carter or something, who runs a website that knows exactly what the hell they're talking about. X-Files coming back 6 episodes, January 2016. And finally, of course, what is it like having Fox Mulder follow you around for all these years? And he says, at one point it was frustrating. I feared being typecast. Now it's just kind of funny. I was going to sing last week, and New York is where I get the best recognition. And this guy goes, oh shit, it's Homeboy from the X-Files. That's the way I want to think of myself. Homeboy from the X-Files. So David Duchovny puts out an album. It's good when people step out of the box of the things they do. Like David Duchovny said when he got divorced, he, out of the custody battle, he had a lot of free time since he didn't get his kids all the time. So he decided to pick up a guitar and start playing guitar because he felt like it, because he wanted to. And he put out an album. It doesn't even matter if it's good or bad. It's just David Duchovny putting out an album. Take it as you want. I sure as hell am excited to see the X-Files in January 2016. But that's just me. So Hell or High Water is the debut album by David Duchovny. And I will link you up to this interview with him over at Rolling Stone on the notes late Tuesday night. What else do we have going on? At NPR's got Faith No More. They're streaming the new Faith No More record. You can stream it. You can stream it at NPR, so I'll link you up. Head over there. I actually have actually haven't, what you call it? Oh boy. I haven't listened to it yet. Wow, you can lose your train of thought fast. I haven't listened to it yet because I don't want to really like it and then get mad when I don't see them live. That shit gets me mad. And I have to turn off Twitter because it's Monday night and people are spoiling my shows. Well, the actors on my shows are spoiling my shows, which is the worst kind of spoiling because you know that that actor was told to tweet about the show. Like you know that he's supposed to raise awareness that the show is on, but at the same time, I don't want to read what happened at 10:37. I don't want the star of the show to say, "Wow, I really hurt myself when I did that." Like, did what? Now I'm going to be looking for it. Now I know. So there's that. All right. I figure we'll get up on out of here. We'll leave while we're hot. By the way, 90 degrees today in New York City. I'm already tired of it. I can't schwitz anymore. I'm sitting here in a schwitz, and it is crazy. It is crazy. But before I get up on out of here, let me hit you with the list of websites you need to go to help keep me in business. First of all, we've got ContentConfessions.com. That's for all your live music, news, and reviews. For the fans, by the fans. I'm going to be hitting some shows soon. And when I do, you'll be the first to know about it. And you can check out what we got going on live at ContentConfessions.com right now. And it's all up there on the scroll. Just take a look, take a gander. I promise you, you go to ContentConfessions.com, there is not going to be one misleading headline. There is not going to be a headline that makes you think you're going to read one thing and see another. There's not going to be a headline about some trending topic that's happening now that maybe we'll write about, like people at concerts holding their phones and stuff like that. Only live shows, what's on the stage, what we see, what happens. That's what you get at ContentConfessions.com. Also, Hang the DJ, 89xradio.com every Sunday morning is where you get Christina Rocks. You can also get her at ChristinaRocks.com. That's her personal website with, well, not personal, it's her website with all music stuff. And this Sunday, I was rocking the Time Warp before I went to work because I had to be at work at 11 o'clock, and it was just, I was so tired that I just didn't even get a chance to really enjoy it as much as I did until Corner Shop's Brimful of Asha came on, and that song is just great, and that really brought me back as I was getting ready for my 11-hour Mother's Day shift. Also, AndyDeer.com, that's headquarters for the Deer Network. That's where you get all your Deer Network podcast needs, whether that's the Tyler Kale Show, whether that's Smooth Operators with Tyler and Andy, whether that's the flagship show, the Andy Deer Show, whether that's a new show, Spin Class, is that it? Spin Class with Tyler and Andy? First of all, why do they call spin, like actual spin class when you go to the gym? Why do they call that spin class? It's riding a bike. Is it not riding a bike? Riding a bike is spinning now? I thought it was a bike. Anyway, I just wanted to say that. I just wanted to get that out there. That is not a comment on the Spin Class podcast, which is something totally different. I mean, they might be working out when they're doing it, but that's not what it's about, to my understanding. Tangents. They're fun. So that's AndyDeer.com. Also, every week, the headlines on this podcast are powered by Annie Quiet, for better or worse. Until next week, folks, whiskey, weed, and Warren Zevon. Late.
This has been the J Porks Experience. Thank you so much for listening.